Good morning, everyone. Again, we'd like to welcome you all, a warm welcome to this great day as we come together and learn from each other. Today is the opening of this year's Ambassadors Lecture Series. The Ambassadors Lecture Series, or ALS, is a platform for heads of diplomatic missions in Manila to share their knowledge and expertise, experience, and advocacies. It aims to build stronger bridges of understanding that will lead us to insights, actions, and a deeper appreciation of our relations to continue achieving our shared goals of cooperation, economic development, and peace. My name is Dulce Fortunado. I'm from the Foreign Service Institute, and I'm honored to be this morning's host. Now, allow me to have the honor to introduce our guest lecturer to open this year's Ambassadors Lecture Series. Our lecturer was Director General of the Southeast Asia II Directorate, Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 2017 to 2023. Prior to this, she was the Deputy Trade Representative and Minister Counselor in the Singapore Trade Office in Taipei from 2014 to 2017. She also served as First Secretary for Political Affairs in the Embassy of Singapore in Washington, D.C. from 2005 to 2008. Since joining Singapore's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2001, she has served in various capacities on issues related to Southeast Asia, international organizations, South Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. She graduated with a Bachelor of Arts from the National University of Singapore in 1997. She subsequently obtained a Master in Strategy and War Studies from King's College, University of London, United Kingdom in 2000. She's married with 2 children. To share her thoughts on her chosen topic, Charting the Path Forward, celebrating 55 years of enduring friendship and exploring new horizons in Singapore-Philippines bilateral relations, may call on stage from the Embassy of Singapore in the Philippines, Ambassador Constance C. Sin Yuan. Warm round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning to my fellow diplomats, members of the media, friends, partners, supporters of Singapore. Thank you for being here today. I'm very happy to see so many of you. This must surely reflect great interest, either in the state of Singapore-Philippine relations or in the Miranda spread that I see outside. Thank you to the FSI for the invitation. I am extremely honored to be the first ASEAN ambassador to be delivering the FSI Ambassadors Lecture and the first ambassador for 2024. I am especially happy because 2024 marks the 55th anniversary of Singapore-Philippine relations, and I consider this lecture a wonderful way to kick off our anniversary. Our countries, Philippines and Singapore, enjoy a very long, very outstanding and close friendship. Our linkages go back into history. Please allow me to recount one of my favorite anecdotes, which is how the Philippine national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, had actually visited Singapore 5 times. Not many people know this. The first time he set foot in Singapore was in 1882 on his way to pursue his studies in Spain. He took a carriage and visited many places in Singapore, including the Singapore Botanic Gardens, which still stands today and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Sadly, Dr. Rizal's last visit was in 1896 when he was being sent back to Manila after being arrested in Barcelona. And to commemorate his connection to Singapore, we put up a bronze marker of Dr. Rizal near the Singapore River in 2008. Some of you may have seen this. The marker was crafted by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. There's also a portrait painted by Fabian de la Rosa. So Dr. Rizal is one of only 4 personalities that the Singapore government chose to honor in this way. The other 3 are Ho Chi Minh, Deng Xiaoping, and Somerset Maugham. So why do I talk about this? Well, I mentioned this to show our intertwined histories and the connections that we share. And our linkages have since flourished. Since we established diplomatic ties in 1969, the relations between our two countries have grown from strength to strength. We enjoy a deep, multifaceted relationship that is characterized by strong and close political, economic, cultural, people-to-people ties. We engage each other on the basis of mutual trust, respect, and confidence, which I view as our greatest asset. And our friendship is really anchored on a shared vision of peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. As was mentioned earlier, before I assumed my position as a Singapore ambassador to the Philippines, I spent 6 long years as DG covering Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. And I think during this time, I saw firsthand the very close cooperation that we enjoy. This was, of course, during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this was really testament to the strength and the resilience of our partnership. At the height of the pandemic, Singapore and Philippines, we extended mutual support by contributing medical supplies. We help each other, by facilitating the return of our nationals going home safely. And Wilford here, we worked very closely with him when he was posted to the Singapore embassy. And it was really through such Bayanihan spirit that we managed to weather the crisis. And at this juncture, I really want to take the opportunity to express our appreciation and gratitude to all Filipino frontline personnel in Singapore who has stood in solidarity with Singaporeans and played a very critical role in our fight against COVID-19. I think their dedication and their courage are an inspiration to all of us. The world, again, unfortunately, is at a difficult juncture with multiple crises. The war between Russia and Ukraine continues unabated with no sight of a peaceful resolution. There is conflict and tragedy in the Middle East. Meanwhile, the global economic outlook remains uncertain, compounded by challenges such as supply chain disruptions, food insecurity, energy supply volatility, and the growing tendency towards protectionist measures. More worryingly, we are seeing rollbacks in hard-won development gains. The UN reported last September that only 15% of the SDGs are on track. We are sliding back, essentially, on many of these SDGs. The levels of inequality are rising, both within countries and between countries. At the same time, humanity is facing the unprecedented challenge of climate change. So as we navigate these increasingly uncertain times, the partnership between Singapore and the Philippines remains as vital as ever. We have to continue working closely together, both bilaterally and at a multilateral level, including to advance ASEAN's interests. Our future and the future of our region will depend on how we respond to the opportunities and the challenges together. And since I took up post here, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I believe that there is great scope for us to enhance cooperation, especially on the economic front. We already enjoy very strong, very robust economic cooperation, which has grown in tandem with our strong political ties. Singapore was the top source of FDI to the Philippines in the years 2021 and 2022. I don't have the figures yet for 2023, but the third quarter numbers did show that Singapore topped the list of FDI sources. So our investments, Singapore's investments in the Philippines are diverse and go beyond Metro Manila. They cover sectors from real estate to hospitality, transport, telcos, consumer goods, fintech, and e-commerce. And we also rank as each other's key trading partners. Singapore is the Philippines' 5th largest export market and 6th largest import supplier. Singapore is also home to more than 200,000 Filipinos, and the overseas remittances from Singapore was more than US $2.3 billion in 2022. Since I arrived here, I have seen very strong, really expanding interest from Singapore companies in the Philippines. Many companies are heartened by the relaxation of restrictions on foreign ownership and the lowered barriers of entry into the Philippine market. They welcome the pro-investment, pro-business approach of President Marcos Jr.'s administration. They are actively pursuing partnerships and expanding into the Philippine market. The key areas of interest for Singapore companies include infrastructure, urban solutions like waste and water management, sustainability, innovation, and digitalization. These areas are also aligned with the Philippines' own priorities. So especially in infrastructure development, I see a lot of synergy between the Philippines' goals and Singapore's expertise in urban solutions and smart cities technology. There is great potential to collaborate on projects that can transform the urban landscape and improve the quality of life for citizens. Singapore is also seeing potential in tech and innovation collaboration with the Philippines. You have a very vibrant, very fast-growing digital economy. This is further bolstered by the Philippine government's very steadfast digital transformation efforts. In particular, within the financial sector, I see growing interest in seeking new and innovative fintech solutions. In recent years, there is a very healthy traction of Singapore fintech players. They are setting up in the Philippines or they're working through partnerships with their Filipino clients. This is testament to the strong tech and innovation linkages between Singapore and the Philippines. We look forward to continue to expand our cooperation in this area and capturing opportunities in the digital economy together. I also want to touch a little bit on energy. This is, of course, in line with the Philippines' strong push to increase the share of renewable energy in your energy mix. So some of the opportunities and projects in this area have seen the active participation of Singapore companies. For example, there is a joint partnership between a Filipino company, Sun Asia Energy, and the Singapore-based Blue Leaf Energy Asia. They are investing more than US $1.2 billion to build a 1.3 gigawatt floating solar plant on Laguna Lake. Incidentally, the Laguna Lake is bigger than the entire Singapore. The opening of the Philippines' renewable energy sector to full foreign ownership in December of 2022 looks set to unlock the potential of this clean energy sector. This aligns with Singapore's interest as developing renewable energy generation capacity is an important part of our decarbonization efforts. So Singapore, for instance, has been looking to import up to 4 gigawatts of low-carbon electricity by 2035. We see this as a potential area of collaboration between our two countries. We expect to see more collaboration on this front. Look forward to working with the Philippines. So sustainability, the green energy transition will present many opportunities. I should also stick in here our very keen interest to collaborate with the Philippines on carbon credits. This is an issue that I've raised with some of your agencies, including DENR, where we hope to work with the Philippines on a cooperative approach that is in line with Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. So both countries can achieve our climate targets, promote sustainable development, and advance global climate action at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have sketched out several areas of cooperation: infrastructure, digital, tech, innovation, as well as sustainability and renewable energy. Many of these are new and emerging areas that are of mutual concern, and I feel that this demonstrates the very forward-looking nature of our partnership. Just as President Marcos has said, the Philippines is open for business, and in the same vein, Singapore has been confident about the Philippines' strong developmental potential and your role in contributing to the region's shared economic prosperity. We have been invested and continue remain invested in the Philippines, and we stand ready to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Constance, for discussing Singapore-Philippine relations from your point of view. Now we will open the open forum. We'll open the forum. And for this portion, please be brief with your comments, your questions, so we can entertain a good number of participants. And also, before your comment or question, please introduce yourself and your affiliation or organization. Sir?
Thank you very much, Dulce. And thank you very much to Her Excellency Constance in Yuan. My name is Tony Morales. I am currently the Undersecretary for Administration. I used to be ambassador to Singapore from 2013 to 2018. And at that time, for a short period, I had the opportunity to work closely with the ambassador, who was then Director General for Southeast Asia 2 Directorate. When you are assigned abroad, that's very important to get in touch with the directorate in charge of you. So I have nothing to add. I congratulate the ambassador for her very comprehensive and excellent presentation, although it's just a sketch. I agree our relations are strong, growing, and multifaceted, from political to economic to people ties. And she emphasized the big number of Filipinos in Singapore who are in very different professions and different capacities, from bank executives to our household helpers. And they are, I think, a very important factor in the strengthening of our ties. I don't know if I missed out something, but I also wanted to add that we Filipinos, when we go to Singapore, we are impressed and we look for lessons. One area perhaps that impresses us is the rule of law. In Singapore, I think the adage that no one is above the law holds true, that people follow the rules and the law. And perhaps this is also translated internationally. Singapore pushes for the rule of law in international relations. And I think that's an area that we can continue to partner for in the future, to push for the rule of law in relations between and among states. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll just like to quickly respond to that. We have many Filipinos in Singapore, as I mentioned, more than 200,000, and they undertake all sorts of professions in Singapore, and they have become a very important part of our diverse social fabric. We live, we work, we study alongside Filipinos, and since coming here also, I am extremely struck by the positive connections between our people. Everyone I met have some sort of connection to Singapore, whether they have visited, they know someone who works there or studies there. So I feel that this is a really important foundation of our close relationship. There is a familiarity between our people. We understand each other, we're sensitive to each other, and that helps a lot in terms of working and engaging. And even when we, should there be any difficult issues, I think it's very easy to pick up the phone to talk to each other as well. So as I said, our greatest asset is really the mutual trust and the confidence we have in each other. And my job here as well as ambassador is to deepen those linkages. And I'm very happy to report that Singapore continues to be very well regarded in the Philippines, and likewise, we welcome more Filipinos in Singapore, and we welcome you to come and study, to work, and there's so much more that we can do together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have the gentleman here, second row, please? Kindly approach the microphone.
Hello. Good morning, Your Excellency. Good morning, everyone. I am Leo. I am a local youth council member in a province 2 hours away from Manila. And I'd just like to ask the ambassador, would it be in Singapore's interest to work more closely with lower institutions within the Philippine government, such as us, local youth council, because one of the key interests of the Philippine Youth Development Plan for the youth of the Philippines is global mobility. And I think that for Singapore and the Philippines to have a better cooperation in the economy and digital infrastructure is for our economies and the youth to have a better cooperation with each other. So yeah, would Singapore be interested in working closely with the youth of the Philippines? Thank you.
The answer is yes. We admire the Philippines because you have a young, tech-savvy population, one of the highest internet penetration rates. You have people who are digital natives, and we see a lot of potential in that. And from a wider perspective, in ASEAN, it's also a very young population. There are more than 660 million people in the ASEAN region. 60% are under the age of 35, right? And there's potential in that in terms of education, in terms of skills, in terms of even newer areas like working together on climate change or sustainability. And I believe the focus on that has been a constant line of thought in the ASEAN region as well, that we want to work together with our youth to uplift them. So yes, the Singapore Embassy is open to collaboration with the National Youth Council and the youth groups here. Please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Morning, Your Excellency. Gary Georgianicio from School of Diplomacy and Governance, De La Salle College of St. Benilde. My question is, Prime Minister Lee mentioned last year that you'll be stepping down this November and turning over the leadership to Deputy Prime Minister Larsong. Are we expecting some changes on Singapore foreign policy? Or, for instance, do we expect for a more positive statement from Singapore, especially on the issue of South China Sea? Thank you.
Yes, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said last year that he intends to hand over leadership to Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong by the time of November 2024, which happens to be the 70th anniversary of the People's Action Party, the ruling party, PAP. We are excited about this leadership transition. Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong will bring a new energy to governance in Singapore, and we will continue, I think, in terms of our direction of fostering close relationship with our neighbors. The Philippines is a very important partner, continues to be so. We are founding members of ASEAN. We are key trading partners as well. So I believe that the direction would never change. We are part of the region, and for Singapore, the success of our neighbors are very, very important, and that's why we actively pursue partnerships and cooperation. We have a prosper thy neighbor kind of approach. So peace, stability, economic prosperity in the region is in line with our interests, and that is what we will actively work together with our partners on. On the South China Sea, Singapore's position has always been consistent and well articulated. We have stated our position on many occasions. We are a small, trade-dependent nation. Trade is 3 times our GDP. So we have fundamental interests at stake, and this includes maintaining peace and stability in the region, upholding the rights of all states to freedom of navigation and overflight, and also supporting the peaceful resolution of all conflicts in accordance to international law, including the 1982 UNCLOS, which really is the legal framework within which all the activities in the oceans and the seas should be carried out. So that is a firm position, and we're likely to continue to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Your Excellency. My name is Francis. I'm from Far Eastern University Department of International Studies. As a founding member of the ASEAN and as an economic powerhouse in the region, I'm just quite curious on how do Singaporeans, the citizens themselves, view ASEAN economic integration and ASEAN itself as an organization. Do they or are they happy about the prospect of further economic integration in the region and Singapore's further and role or leadership perhaps in the region as well? Thank you.
ASEAN is really the cornerstone of Singapore's foreign policy. And as you mentioned, we are a founding member, and we have placed great emphasis and resources in this area as well. As far as the citizenry is concerned, I think they are aware of ASEAN, but we hope to raise the level of awareness. I think it's the same way that the Philippines is doing. I see many ASEAN events during August, which is the month of ASEAN's founding anniversary. So I think we will have to continue doing that as well. But working together as a region, pushing integration efforts, I think that has borne fruit, and that has brought a lot of benefits to the region, to our people, and we are aware of that. For instance, Singapore has really developed very strong trading connectivity through our FTAs and through the numerous trade and investment related agreements of ASEAN, including AFTA and RCEP. So this very strategic web of linkages sharpen the competitiveness of our companies as they gain preferential access to markets in ASEAN and beyond. So in very real, very concrete terms, they would see the benefits of working together as a region. We are a small country, but as a region, as I mentioned, we're 660 million people. We're able to amplify our messages. We're able to interest the other major powers in ASEAN and to have a stake in our economic prosperity and security as well. Thank you.
Yusek, please, then the lady at the back.
Morning, Your Excellency. Eduardo de Vega, Undersecretary in charge of migration. Before I go to my questions, well, of course, the presence of Filipino workers in Singapore is very much appreciated, but I just want to make a comment. I very much appreciate an interview I heard, or I saw, one of frequent interviews made by Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong with BBC, and this was many years ago, 15 years ago, I suppose, where he was asked by the BBC reporter with a typical Western attitude about questions about authoritarianism and the death penalty and so forth, and how it would be difficult perhaps for the West to continue trade in the same manner with Singapore. And I loved his answer. He said, I don't see Britain or the West suddenly cutting trade with Saudi Arabia, do you? And the British reporter could not say anything. And he said, the Prime Minister said, the world is a big place. There is not just one way to govern countries and peoples. There are many ways. There's no one correct version. And I must confess, I plagiarized those lines when I was ambassador in Brussels and had to respond all the time to the EU's typical misguided criticism of the former president and his administration. Thank you, Singapore. Now, my questions were migration related. There is a lot of demand for Philippine workers in many countries. And one reason is, we think, the population collapse, which is happening among very developed countries, including not just in the West, but in Northern Asia, for example. Is that a problem in Singapore? And number two, some internal thing purely for courtesy. How do you maintain such harmony in Singapore, given your multicultural society? Of course, a great majority of Chinese descent, but certainly not exclusively. Is it because of the certain common values or common principles which unite them all, which unite you all? Whether you're Malay, of South Asian, Northern Asian, Eurasian descent, or among the foreigners, including Filipinos living there. Lessons to be learned from other countries like the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Undersecretary. You have just revealed the depth of your knowledge about Singapore. I think you know a lot. I would like to just respond on a few points. The first about whether there's only one correct version. I think we don't claim universal validity, right? None of us do, of the way we approach law and order. But I think what we ask is that visitors to our country respect our laws and the way we implement it. And we will implement it the way our people expect the government to do so. And that holds true for all countries. And secondly, on the demand for Filipino workers, I think it makes you a very, very important node in the global labor landscape. You have, Filipinos have contributed so much to building the economy of many countries. You are indispensable in many sectors, whether it's in healthcare or in seafaring. In Singapore as well, as I mentioned earlier, we really appreciate the contributions of Filipinos to our economy and to our social fabric. And we hope to continue this very positive relationship. And it is also why Singapore places a lot of emphasis, and we take great pride in our foreign labor management framework. We take great pride in upholding the rights and welfare of all overseas workers, foreign workers in Singapore. To give you an example, several years ago, Singapore amended our penal code to increase to 1.5 times the penalties that employers could face if they are convicted of abuse of a foreign domestic worker. I don't know whether we're the only country in the world to do so, but I feel that that sends a very strong signal that we want to uphold, we want to protect and promote the rights and welfare of all overseas workers, foreign workers in Singapore. Your other point about harmony, multicultural, in maintaining harmony in Singapore, I would say that we have done pretty well, but it's still a work in progress. We are multiracial, multi-religious. We are one of the most religiously diverse countries in the world. We have majority Chinese population, but also significant populations of people of Malay ethnicity, Indians, and other races. We live together side by side, mostly in harmony, but there are some isolated incidents of racism and discrimination, which I think we should not avoid talking about, but to be very upfront about it and to continue working at it. And that means raising awareness and providing more opportunities for people to engage with each other so that they understand each other's culture and our different idiosyncrasies if it comes to that. So it is a work in progress. We do have laws to maintain racial harmony, but just living close to each other, not in ethnic enclaves, that helps a lot. And for example, our men, at 18 years old, it's mandatory for them to serve national service in the military. And I think young men of all races, side by side for 2 years, it's a common experience, it's a shared experience. And through that, they really make friends. And I think it is a very important part of their growing up experience. And I think that helps in tightening the social fabric as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Buena Bernal. I'm the Philippines correspondent for CNA Channel News Asia. Related to the previous question, Singapore, it's a multicultural, multilingual society, and the Philippines also has many languages and dialects. And so to an extent, we're also a multicultural society, and a lot of the global conflicts, national conflicts, stem from non-tolerance. So can you talk about the importance of multiculturalism, the importance of tolerance? And then as a second question is the standard of excellence, the drive for excellence we see in Singapore. You know, some social observers has summed it up in the word kiasu. You see that in smart city management. You've mentioned that in your lecture. Can you talk about the importance of technology as well? But how do we balance that with labor, to quote Singapore's founding father, as a country's most important asset? So how do we balance technology and labor?
In terms of tolerance, I think I don't have much more to add than what I said earlier. But basically, being a society, being a very small country, you have to live in very close proximity with people of all races. And it's something that we just need to continuously remind ourselves that these are my neighbors, we live together, and this is a common space for all of us. And so we have focused on building common spaces, on shared experiences. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, we're not perfect. We're a society that continues to evolve, but I believe there is already quite a well-evolved Singaporean identity. We are very proud of who we are, of being multiracial, and you would see most of us identifying as Singaporeans first and foremost, rather than our ethnicity. And on the drive for excellence, I think it is in our DNA. When we became independent in 1965, you know, it's really, there was this motivation to work together with the government, and we had nothing but the sweat on our brows, you know. So I believe that Singaporeans are determined to succeed, to make a better lives for themselves. It helps that we are small and quite nimble. We have been very fortunate to have strong leadership and people that are very, very hardworking. So I think we have very high standards of for our leaders. We have good policy makers. We have good people who implement it. So I don't think we should ever take that for granted. We have to, as a small country, just keep running to stay on the same spot, you know. We have many vulnerabilities that we are fully aware of, and the external environment is one factor that we cannot control. So we constantly need to be very well prepared for the storms that are ahead of us and that we have no way of seeing what is coming. And so in terms of technology, for instance, we launched recently a draft model governance framework for generative AI. And I think that is an example of how Singapore looks ahead. We want to use technology, but we also want a balanced approach. That means, on one hand, you want to allow and encourage technology using AI to enhance efficiency, to make our work better, but on the other hand, you want consumer protection, you want user security, and what we're trying to do is to get a global discourse going, to get people thinking about this. How do we harness AI? Because I strongly believe that ungoverned AI could really be a key geopolitical risk, you know. Recently I saw that, you know, there are elections coming up in Indonesia. There was a deep fake viral video of the late President Suharto purportedly endorsing candidates from a certain party. And it's very disturbing. I also read, for instance, in a pharmaceutical company in North Carolina, it took researchers all of 6 hours to develop, using AI, 40,000 lethal drugs, including nerve agents. So AI can be weaponized, and it's very scary. But it is technology that is here to stay, and we should be very clear-eyed about the challenges and work together as the world, globally, to harness the good of it and also to minimize the harmful effects. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Morning, Ambassador. I'm Mark Pagdansalan from the Foreign Service Institute. So my question is, as we move forward from the pandemic days, what measures did the Singapore government take to enable its business sector to emerge and transform stronger from the pandemic?
I think the pandemic was a major test, and we did emerge stronger, I believe. During the pandemic, the government rolled out 5 budgets to support the people. There were direct cash transfers. There were many initiatives to help businesses, and these have continued. We have seen disruptions post-pandemic as well, even though there was also a rebound, but we're seeing disruptions due to geopolitical uncertainty, and the government continues to look for ways to help the people. There are assurance packages. We have come up with subsidies. And I think generally continuing to be very welcoming of foreign investment, and on one hand, and on the other hand, making sure that we continually upskill and upgrade our people, ensuring that our young people are well educated and future ready. I think those are the steps that we have taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, Ambassador. I'm Carla from the Foreign Service Institute. I would just like to ask, because we understand that Singapore is dependent on the free flow of trade. However, we are seeing an increasing trend of supply chain decoupling and deglobalization. So how is Singapore trying to manage such trend and such risk that would affect the whole economic outlook of the world? Thank you.
It's not something we can do alone. So Singapore's emphasis has been to work with our partners, including in ASEAN. ASEAN has come together to emphasize the importance of connectivity, for instance, and to make sure there's supply chain risk management. Laos is the chairman of ASEAN this year. The theme for the Laos chairmanship is enhancing connectivity and resilience. And these are all areas that are very important to all of us. It includes further integration of our economies, fostering a more sustainable future. It talks about environmental protection. It talks about promoting the rights of women and children and health as well. So these are all areas where we can work together to ensure that we continue to work as a region to harmonize our standards, and we talk about cross-border flows of people and trade, not something that one single country can resolve on its own given the nature of global trade, especially for Singapore as a very small and open economy.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi. Good morning, Ambassador. I'm Jovito from the Foreign Service Institute, a researcher. You've already alluded to Singapore opening itself to investments. In the Philippines, we're actually trying to address this, or at least it has been the focus of the news regarding the charter change, focus on economic amendments to our constitution. And one of the major concerns, aside from displacement of our local businesses and workers, is security. How has Singapore addressed this issue, given its background as an investment champion in Southeast Asia? What are certain measures or safeguards that are in place in order to address certain security-related issues security-related issues to investment? No? Because one of the primary concerns is that how do we properly screen those that come in, and how do we monitor them and implement certain laws at the national level? We'd like to know your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a very important one. By and large, Singapore is a very open investment regime. We welcome foreign investment. That has really enabled our country to progress, I think. But there are certain ways that we exert control and oversight on investment. Some of these are legislative restrictions. Some of it would be in terms of licensing regimes. So like in banking, in telcos, licenses are required, and there are restrictions on, legislative restrictions on, for instance, if you're a foreigner or a foreign entity trying to buy landed residential property, you need government approval and other types of properties as well. So there are different ways of exerting oversight and control. We have recently passed a significant investment review bill. And this is essentially a framework to scrutinize significant investment in certain critical entities. So this would be this will apply to both local and foreign investment. And these are entities that are designated as critical for national security. They may play functions that are considered very critical in terms of our security, our well, I'll stop there just in terms of security, because there is no, I don't think there's a specific definition yet. But this is the way where we will screen investments, if you will. Yep.
Any other question or comment, please? Ma'am? Okay. So maybe, ma'am, as a last question, I have here women in technology. Can you just give us a picture of like how early in the educational system are women set up, or girls in technology are set up to really have that opportunity to be trained in science, technology, and in terms of the workforce, how's the access or like the gender equality in terms of women in technology, because we want to also learn from your experience. Thank you.
I think women development in Singapore has made tremendous strides. We have equal access to many opportunities in terms of education or healthcare. I think we have made a lot of progress. More can be done. I think equal opportunity is not enough. I think we should also pursue equitable outcomes. And that is still a work in progress. But we are seeing more women in terms of political participation or in the economy and in tech. I don't know what is the percentage, but recently I was told many of the heads of our, some of the schools in charge of science or engineering, they are women. So I'm very happy to see that. And from young, I think Singaporean girls, I don't think they perceive any sort of difference with their male counterparts, and we value them equally. So Singaporean girls, I believe they are strong, capable, and they will go far. And in terms of technology, I am aware that in some preschools, they are already exposed to computers and very, very basic coding. Not in all preschools, but many of them are coming on board in that way. So our young people are technologically rather savvy. My own two daughters, I have two daughters, they're 10 and 13. They are digital natives. They do not know anything before the internet. So I think the key challenge for us is really to arm them not only with the skills to use technology, but also a certain discernment. I am personally very worried about online harms. In Singapore, we do have initiatives to protect women and children from online exploitations, and the government is giving a lot of support on that, like victim support or counseling, raising awareness and teaching children how to deal with what's going on online. And related to that is, of course, misinformation as well, which is increasingly a challenge. As I mentioned, there's AI, deep fakes. How do you differentiate what is real and what is not? So there's a lot of thought now into like content provenance. How do you ensure you can trace the origin, where and how this image has been generated? I think we need to keep abreast of all these developments to protect our children, as well as to encourage them to continue pursuing technology. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Maybe another question would be again on climate adaptation mitigation approaches. Can you give us like a picture of how government lead this, and also the whole of society, like the role of like the academia and also even non-government institutions when it comes to the climate change or climate crisis? Thank you.
Singapore is an island country. We're rather low-lying, so very vulnerable to sea level rise, to climate change, and we have a very long-term plan in terms of climate mitigation measures. I think a couple of years ago, we issued the Singapore Green Plan. This is a whole of society movement to make sure we are future ready in terms of climate. There's many areas that we are covering in this. For instance, we want to increase our solar energy deployment. We want to grow plant 1 million trees. We are also making some of our schools net zero. So there are many initiatives, and Singapore views this as a very important advocacy. In international fora, we are also looking for cooperation with our other partners. As I mentioned earlier, carbon credits is one area that we are keen to pursue with the Philippines. There is abundance of carbon credit potential here, and Singapore is renewable energy disadvantage, and we see many ways that we can work with the Philippines, whether it is to import renewable energy or to trade in carbon credits. I should also mention that one of the key thrusts in ASEAN going forward is sustainability and green economy. And one key initiative is the ASEAN Power Grid. And this is to encourage cross-border electricity trading in green energy. 2 years ago, in Singapore, we worked with our ASEAN partners to launch the LTMS PIP, which stands for Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore Power Integration Project. That was Singapore's first import of renewable hydroelectricity, and that has proven very feasible and successful, and we want to expand that. And relatedly, also our companies are working with Vietnam, with Cambodia, for instance, to import green energy. We see a lot of potential in the region, and that's the way, that's the direction that we are going to go in. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close the forum, may we ask for your parting shot or any words of invitation or encouragement to our audience? Thank you.
As I mentioned, this is the 55th anniversary of Singapore-Philippine relations. I cannot emphasize more how deeply we value the relationship with the Philippines. You are a close partner, a trusted partner and friend, and we look forward to working with the Philippines to deepen our already very robust engagement and cooperation. I invite you to work with the Singapore Embassy. If you have ideas, if you have initiatives that we can work together on, please approach us. We are open to discussions and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a warm round of applause to Her Excellency for patiently answering all our questions, and also thank you for your active participation. At this juncture, we at the Institute would like to express our appreciation to Ambassador Constance for saying yes to this invitation. We're very happy to be part of the 55th anniversary activities. May now call in front FSI's Executive Director, Dr. Stephanie Beatriz Valera, to award our simple token of appreciation, one of FSI's publications, Ladybug. May we also call the undersecretaries present. Yusek Morales, sir. Yusek De Vega, please. Yusek Wong, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Before we conclude, just two quick announcements. FSI is committed to continual improvement, so please answer our short evaluation survey. We want to hear your honest feedback about our learning session today. The next session of the Ambassadors Lecture Series will be on 16 February, also Friday, same time, 9:30 in the morning, also in this venue. We'll be focusing on Germany's interests in the Indo-Pacific region with Dr. Andreas Pfaffenoschke, Ambassador of Germany to the Philippines. Now, please kindly partake of our simple refreshments outside of the library. Thank you again for your wonderful presence in this lecture. See you again next month for the FSI's Ambassadors Lecture Series. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.